right, everybody, welcome back to Culz Reviews. I know, it's not a Chad film this time. We've been doing quite a few of those, but we're taking a break because obviously we've finished reviewing every single one of Chad Kalich's films, and so we figured let's move on to another director. And so we figured we'd try Jeremy Corbell just because we obviously have already reviewed a couple before. And so to cover all of them again wasn't too hard because we've already covered two of them. So the one we're checking out today is Patient 17. It looks to be his first actual documentary, though he did quite a few shorts before. Because those are shorts and we're just looking at documentaries, we're not going to include those when we go to rank his films. So as usual, my name is Keegan. Joining me today is
Sam.
All right, so this one has to do with aliens. Much like any of Jeremy's films. I mean, at least he's consistent. If you find actually, no, I take that back. We saw what one of his upcoming films are, and unless that turns into aliens, it is not. So I take that back, scrambled. But of the three current films that are out there for you guys to watch, they're all about aliens of some fashion, including Skinwalker Ranch, because they named it Skinwalker Ranch even though it's about aliens. It always confused me. Like, whenever I read it, I kept waiting for a Skinwalker, and they'd be like, and then it was hovering like a UFO. I'm like, so aliens. Why is it not called Alien Ranch? I don't know. Not as enticing, I suppose. Well, Sam is our ufologist of the group, so we're going to hand it off to him and kind of let him describe kind of the alien aspects that they talked about within this film.
Basically, the alien aspects that they were talking about in this film was getting foreign objects placed into your body, which there are accounts of that actually happening. They covered it a little bit in Project Blue Book. They also, people have reported to like just going to the doctors and getting a scan and they find something that like kind of shouldn't really belong there. Or it starts to affect them a little bit. Or they have like weird kind of like scar marks. And like a lot of the accounts, you can kind of like feel the objects within the skin, some people have said. So it is a thing that can happen. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the Greys that do that a little bit more. It's not something that they always do, but they do kind of put objects in some certain people for who knows what reason. But it is something that does kind of happen. So once I figured it out, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, and as I was watching, I remembered, and I don't know if it's from a documentary we've previously watched, but I remember there was a story of a lady that I think had it like in her nose, and even like cartilage had grown around it after it was like taken out or whatever. So yeah, there's definitely stories out there. This one revolves around Patient 17. As far as I know, they don't give his real name.
It's probably because he doesn't want to really, like, I mean, people that recognize him will recognize him, but he doesn't want like too many people to like confront him about it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you definitely have to be kind of deep diving in UFO documentaries to even come across him. I think it might be on Netflix. It's definitely on Tubi, on YouTube. So, but at the same time, I don't think unless you're like really deep diving, I don't think like his neighbors are gonna like find out who he is or anything like that. We didn't have as much time to kind of go through and research this one like we did some of Chad's. But I will say, at least with this one, I did not fall asleep. Sam, any update with you? Did you fall asleep?
I almost did.
Almost did. So Sam has now found out if he needs to sleep, just throw on a Jeremy film and he'll be able to go right to bed.
Right? No, I mean, there was a moment that I was like kind of dozing off, but other than that, like I was pretty interested in it. I mean, because it definitely seemed weird. It is interesting how small the like piece is that's within that dude. So it's I don't know, that part is really interesting.
So I mean, obviously there's going to be some science in here that I think people with like the knowledge of science will like kind of be upset with what they kind of determine here as far as zinc goes. But one thing I enjoyed about this one is Jeremy, at least when I was watching it, maybe I missed something, But Jeremy never like went out and said like 100% that it was alien. He just kept saying he wanted to take it to other people, and they definitely said that, they needed more tests, and he wanted to do more tests. And so at least it seemed like he was actually being skeptical and never like, because we at least feel like we know Jeremy from his other two films. And so this was definitely a different side of him. Whereas in the other ones, it definitely seems like he wants to prove aliens are out there, and hey, go for it, But this one, it seemed like he was taking more steps to like try to prove it and get more factual like backing. It didn't go very far because one of the guys he was trying to talk to just stopped replying to him or something, he said, and he's like, I guess I could just go knock on their door. And I was like, I mean, probably not a good idea. If
Well,
the
I
guy's
think
like,
get sample back to test at another place, and like they just stopped communication with him.
Yeah, and just took the sample.
Or
it
was taken, which is a possibility, and they were told to not continue contact.
When you're looking into the story, and this is where this one's kind of hard to research, outside of like the main players you probably know, like Jeremy, George Knapp, Lear's in there. The rest of the people are either using aliases or you just really can't find information. And so it leads to a lot of dead ends. So that could lead you, I guess, one of two ways. But as of now, like it definitely, I think, would deserve more research and more time as trying to figure out what happened, or if, because I mean, it's interesting to figure out like, did that guy just leave town? Like, did he die? Like, what happened? Like, why did he not reply? If that's factual or not. But
No, one of the like researchers died.
yeah, Lear during it. Yeah, he died in 2014, so that kind of shows you when this was being filmed. So I guess, I mean, we could kind of use it as like a timestamp to be like trying to research it. Because if he died, and I know they did it before, but like the results weren't coming back before he died. Because 17 was like, he said he was really disappointed that he couldn't like share it with him. And I feel like we've talked about Lear when we were on one of our, was it Wally's interview or Dennis's? I thought we talked about Lear one time.
I'm trying to recall. It may have been Dennis's.
So, because now we've watched 3, how does this compare directorial and like editing style wise? Because I'll tell you, at the beginning, I was like, we're in for another ride. But then it kind of just like felt very down to earth, if that makes sense.
The first documentary he did, correct? This was first, and then he did Bob Lazar after this, and then Skinwalker after that, or is it this one, Skinwalker
and then Bob Lazar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he made this one.
Directing, because I rather enjoyed this one, and I feel like he fell off the more he's doing them.
Well, I don't know, maybe if someone commented on Hunt for the Skinwalker, because I guess it is more in line with this one in a way, but it feels so slow, and maybe that's why he threw in some of that extra stuff in Bob Lazar, because he got some feedback, and he's like, all right, I'm going to change it. It would be interesting when he makes like more to see which path he takes, because at least looking on IMDb, one of his is about tattoos.
True.
And I'm like, okay, what is this? Is this going to be about aliens? Like, I don't think so. It doesn't look like it, but who knows? But yeah, back to the editing style, Sam.
I don't know. I kind of liked his editing style in this. I've always enjoyed how Jeremy always like throws in some interesting stuff to it, and like his intro is always, it's pretty fascinating. Him walking in like a desert scene into cosmos, and then a meteorite crashing the ground and causing an explosion.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think he also used that one in Hunt for the Skinwalker, or at least the same idea
as well.
Did he use it in Bob? It's been so long since we watched. I gotta rewatch that one so we can like I can
Watched it
fairly.
right after this one just to see if I was just like maybe super tired that day and like that's why I didn't like it. But I rewatched it and I mean it was definitely better than when I first reviewed it,
But
but it's
still not great.
still was not great.
See, for me, I guess, because I haven't rewatched that one in a while. I'm trying to think if I see this one's a lot shorter than Hunt for the Skinwalker, and I'll have to rewatch that so when we rank it, I can be fair. But I
I haven't
think
rewatched Hunt for the Skinwalker yet. I just did Bob Lazar.
yeah, I feel like Hunt for the Skinwalker is so long. Like it's over 2 hours, and you definitely feel it. Like I remember watching it the first time we did, and like I felt the time. At least with this one, it was like short and sweet in a way. But yeah, there's a weird like undertone sound he uses that sounds like a train whistle, like in the distance. And
Yeah.
I noticed it because I was sitting in the parking lot watching it, and all I could hear was like, and I was like, is there a train? Like, and I was like, oh no, it's a movie. But it's like it's in random sections, like it's not in like the entirety of it, which is good. But yeah, he throws in some sound effects or the heartbeat where it's like boop 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 boop. So I feel like he did some type of film school because like he's showing some I guess
He's throwing effects in there that like add to the suspense essentially.
yeah. So he's showing
Or
some
add
knowledge of the medium.
piece.
See, this one gets murdered online. Like it has worse reviews than the other two that we've watched of his, as well as the worst two of Chad's. Like people, I mean, maybe it just has a bigger audience, like more people have seen it, so that's why there's more. But there are so many just like angry people on that one. And it didn't anger me. Like, I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm just kind of basing it off of like the film perspective. And it wasn't terrible. I was expecting something a lot different, I think, especially knowing where Hunt for the Skinwalker was the second. It seems like most filmmakers usually get better. Even like you could see that when we did Chad's. They usually get better over time, where maybe this one was better than Hunt for the Skinwalker, but I'll leave that for when we actually rank them because it's been a while. One thing I wanted to talk about too was like whether the story of Patient 17 is true or not. There's lots of accounts, like we said, about like people getting implants or something like that, whether it's in the feet or like nose or whatever. But it's kind of different. Yeah, behind it's you get two very different like viewpoints on aliens. Especially Gray's seem like the counts are like all over the board, and it makes you wonder why. Right? Like why are some encounters like it just seems like they're studying us, or they're very nice, like they don't really do anything, or like other points they're like actually like prodding or like putting stuff in.
Probing to me.
I mean, there's stories where they're like branding people too, like.
That one may not be the Greys doing that. I think that's a different species or different intelligence group that does the branding.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know one of the stories I heard was like it was like the tall. I don't know what they called the taller alien. It was that one where the guy was like painting the aliens. You remember that story? The picture. But
the tall ones may have been. I think those are the Nordics because the Nordics were like the tall.
These ones didn't have hair. If they had hair, he said that they were using wigs, and they were always black hair. And in his story, like the Greys were working with or for this taller alien, and then there was also a mantis being.
Maybe the Anunnakis then?
I don't know. Like, it's just weird because, like I said, there's so many, and we'll get into this when you do your episode on the Greys. But there's so many like different takes on what the Greys are doing. You wonder, like, what is that like? Is there just some rogue Greys? Is there like?
I know there's the. I don't know. I don't know for sure. There's theories out there. I won't. Let me rephrase that because I don't actually know because
Sam's never been abducted, so he has no first-hand take on it.
Well, as far as I remember, that's for sure.
Could you know? Would that stink? Like you actually were to get abducted and you have like no memory of it. I mean, maybe it's for the best, right?
It could be for the best because
it'd be very terrifying.
People wish they didn't remember it happening. Like it just depends.
I'm trying to think of what Travis Walton. His were probably more of like the Nordic beings, right? Because he said they were just like human in like silk outfits. So it's definitely not gray aliens. I'll have to. It's been a while since I read Fire in the Sky, but I feel like it's something I should touch upon.
Yeah, I'll have to brush up on that as well because I think his may have been the Nordics. Because I know the Nordics, as far as it's kind of been told and mentioned, is like they're the tall, like kind of beautiful, most human-like. Like they're the most human-like of the like different types of species. Besides, like obviously the Greys, which are like close to us, but they're not as tall as the Nordics because the Nordics were like more around like the 7 to 8 feet tall, like type of beings.
I don't know because there was. We'll have to touch. I mean, that's definitely a story we should touch upon because it's fascinating. We met Travis Walton as well. He was really nice to us. If you guys want to at least see a brief description or a brief like video of him talking about his experience. What?
Got his finger bitten off.
Yeah, he did by Jiggy. But yeah, if you just want to see like a brief like video of him talking about his experience, like click that link to your right. It'll pop up. We were able to catch some of it in Roswell. I'm guessing he'll probably be back. Like I'm sure he's like one of the guests that they try to get back. I'm shocked they don't have Jeremy Corbell or George Knapp. At least when we went, but you would think that they would have him, especially George Knapp. Like he's like pretty big in the alien world. And so not to have him, because you think if they have George Knapp, Jeremy will be there. But it just Jeremy, come on our show also. I mean, I know we tried this with Chad. These are coming out in the future, so I have no idea if it actually worked or not. But, hopefully, Jeremy, if you're watching this and you want to come on and talk, we're very interested in talking to you about different alien stuff. I mean, you cover a ton of different stuff. And maybe you can hit back at some of those critics, Like I said, it seemed like even the doctor at the beginning was like, well, no, I think it's probably just going to be like a shard from like his childhood or something. Like
right.
none of the people are like overly like trying to like sell the idea of aliens. That's why I was like, okay, I mean, it seems more believable, I guess.
They're more skeptical about it because they're just like, oh, a random small piece of metal in there. So they start testing it and finding out that like it has metal, but not enough to be something that like we can create because of all the other components that are like in there.
Yeah, and one of them.
The only thing that would which he doesn't recollect would be like a potential meteorite crashing down and then like a splinter going off and then hitting him. Yeah. But if that happened, you would kind of remember you being like
struck
almost
by a
killed by a struck by a meteorite or at least a shard that broke off.
That's what I was like. That's kind of weird to be like, it's going to be a splinter or possibly a meteorite. I'm like, wouldn't you like remember like that day you were walking down, walking in the field, or some bright light, and you're like, oh, it's searing into my skin.
right? And there would be a mark, like an impact mark of where it was at, and it kind of looked like he had like a mark,
but it was hard to
but
tell.
that could have just been from something he did in his childhood
Or from
from there.
testing,
Because like
perhaps.
I have a couple marks on like my skin that are from doing fire poi. I
Mm.
just like burned my skin, and then it just kind of stayed that way.
Yeah, I mean, the skin's weird. I did get a kick out of how Patient 17 said he was going to handle the aliens. Like, I was like, man, if these aliens were like abducting you, right, and they're like implanting stuff in you, you're just like out here like, they're cowards. They're cowards. I'm gonna shoot them. They come here. I want to get even. They're gonna shoot you. I was like, dude, if they had actually abducted you and did that, seems very like I don't know if you want to be calling them out like that, you know?
I mean, you wouldn't even be able to. Like, you'd be in like a basically a paralysis state where
Mm.
you aren't really in control.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the stories like with the gray abductions that you read are like the people like see the grays and they can't really move, but it feels like the grays are like telepathically communicating with them.
Yeah.
I don't think in that state you're gonna be able to be like he called them
I mean, you could
he even
probably
called them gangsters.
he called them gangsters.
Yeah, he was like they're gangsters and I was like, all right, man, I love this. It's great. Like
Gangsters are like boys. They're coming, doing whatever the hell they want. Yeah, he didn't really have too much good things to say about them, but from what he was kind of mentioning of his abduction,
it could make sense.
kind of makes sense.
I mean, we've definitely seen like two very different I guess takes on how people feel after their abductions because we've seen this one, right? And granted, we don't know if either of these two people are legit, right? We're just going based off of if this were real, right? These are how they come upon it. So in one corner we have patient 17 who's like very upset, wants to murder some aliens. Like he says that straight up in the documentary. And then you
Yeah.
go on the other hand with, and I forget the name of the guy that was painting his encounters, we'll say, with the aliens and how he's fathered lots of children. So you have two very different like spectrums of like encounters, like how they react. We'll have to touch upon that story too. It's kind of weird. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if it was just some weird person that was doing some bad things with this kid.
Creating this other thing as like a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense for I don't know,
Because
seeing like
there's
the actual or seeing the little grays, but like I
I
don't know.
mean, yeah, we don't know. There's definitely a part that kind of makes you lean that way. And again, we don't know, but there's a part where I think he ends up telling his parents about this, and they were like, they didn't obviously believe him. So when he went back and told this lady, she was like, "No, don't tell your parents." And that's the part where you're like, "Oh, maybe there's some weird person out in the forest doing some stuff." That's the trouble. There's like so many things, and you know, when we talk about paranormal, ghosts are like easiest to investigate. Like, you know where they're gonna be. They're in this building. We don't know the time, but at least you have a location, right? With
True.
aliens, you could see them. I mean, Phoenix Lights was pretty well seen, if that was alien, right? We'll just keep saying that because obviously we weren't there. Um, so we can't
True.
definitively say. Uh, but, you know, we could go to Phoenix today. That experience is never going to happen.
All right, Keegan, let's go right now.
I've been wanting to go. I meant to go to Phoenix a couple of years ago, but yeah, I'd be down to go to Phoenix. There's some cool stuff out there. But then, like cryptids, most of the time it's probably just misidentification. there's like three types of cryptids in my book. Clearly fake ones like the Slide Rock Bolter, which is just hilarious. Like I can't wait to talk about that for a Culz fun fact. Because for those of you who
Spaghetti.
don't
Sure.
no, for those of you who don't know, it's a giant whale that apparently lives in the mountaintops of Colorado and only targets tourists. So if that tells you anything about it, right there, that should click in your brain what that was for back in the day. But then there's like ones that are like super fantastical, like that one, not real. Then there's the ones.
We just end up fighting the whale. We're just like, well,
it's real. Turns out we were wrong. Hey, if we, yeah, Jeremy did use Chad's like catchphrase here, and how he said "what the fuck" was exactly how Chad says it. Like Chad, like puts emphasis on the fuck, so he goes "what the," and makes it really a hard F. And like Jeremy did the same thing, and I was just like Leonardo from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, there it is. There's the thing. He said it. I sent it right to Sam as soon as I heard it. I was like, he did it. We do get some weaponized in here as well.
Oh yeah, the first couple minutes of
a couple minutes towards the beginning and the end, and I think there's probably a couple during. I don't know. It was interesting. It wasn't terrible. Obviously, it's probably not my go-to documentary either. So far, I think as far as aliens go, that unacknowledged is currently in the lead for probably the best ones we've watched. Is this better than Two-Face the Gray? It's possible. Yeah, and again we saw Jeremy the like narrating. This one you could clearly tell it was his first like time doing it, because it wasn't like as good quality narration as far as like the audio quality compared to like
I thought it was definitely decent like narrating in this one.
Well, like wording wise, I'm just saying the audio quality wasn't as good as like Hunt for the Skinwalker. A lot less poetry in this one. I was always waiting for some of Jeremy's like poetry that we hear. But I will still say, had he narrated the Bob Lazar one, and I get it, Mickey Rourke's a big name, but had he narrated it, it might have been better. I would say I guarantee it's probably better.
Yeah, I know. That one I'll still never understood. Stood and stand. Why they went to that path they did with that type of story, just at all. Like, I don't understand it. Like, yeah, he is a big name, but like, why?
Name value. I mean, granted, he did.
What was he?
Oh, hold on, guys! Live update. And by live, I mean not. Hello, Keegan. Thank you for your inquiry. We are not aware of Cockatoo Island closing for any reason in 2015 or 2018, except for perhaps extreme weather, when it would have been closed for safety reasons, or the Harbor Trust ticketed New Year's Eve event. Generally, the island remains open if there are concerts, etc., when there may be restricted access to part of the island. I hope this helps. Guys, we just got an update from the Harbor Trust themselves. I totally forgot I reached out to them. So, update on our Two-Face the Gray. They were not closed. It's a bullshit. Wait till I'm screenshotting this. We're putting it in our deep dive. Dude, I was like, I just like saw something pop up and it said contact form, general inquiries from Sydney.
Like 2015? Wouldn't it have been like 2014 that it happened or earlier?
No, because the event in the movie is June something 2015. He says they closed the very next day. And so I gave him 2 times. So either 2015, and I was like, well, maybe I just misheard him. and it was when the documentary came out, was 2018. So I gave them both dates. Granted, I didn't say why I was looking for it, because then they'd be like, this guy. I just said I was doing some research on the island and read a couple places that it might have been closed on 2015 or 2018. Fucking exciting, guys. We got an update. I'm super excited we got that in the middle of this. Like, just randomly. Obviously, it's different time there in Sydney. But Cockatoo Island did not close. Fascinating. Definitely makes me question that movie even more. Makes me even more excited to dive. You know what, Sam? We're going to take a Saturday. We're deep diving. We're like writing all these notes, getting ready. Obviously not this Saturday because we have a interview, but
True.
Luckily, Sam's like, thank God, thank someone. We have that interview because Keegan is on another.
We're going to talk about so much. It's gonna hurt almost.
We went for like 6 hours.
We're gonna probably have to take breaks in recording that episode just because of how long it's gonna take.
Right.
I'll put aside an entire day to where, like, when we wake up to, like, however long it takes is going to be like that day of recording.
Just so you can see, it did come from the Harbor Trust. I'm so stoked. I am so stoked to have that in our weapon database. Jeremy did tell me to weaponize my brain, so I've been trying to weaponize, and now I've weaponized it with some information. Jeremy, thank you for your insight. It definitely helped me debunk this story. What?
Thank you for your weaponization.
Thank you for weapon. Mind. Yeah, my mind. I was kind of skeptical, but when I thought back, I said, WWJD, what would Jeremy do? And I remembered he told me to weaponize my mind, so I put it to use. I reached out people. I was trying to do my good reporter, and look at us now. Now it's going to be like a 15-hour deep dive. Like, we're going to have a couple lunch breaks. Maybe we'll take a walk around, Rhyolite Mesa. No, I'm super excited. Sorry for the viewers that are just coming here to watch Patient 17. But we've been on the Chad kick since we were notified about Two-Face of Grey. And this is that trilogy. And, that was one of the questions. Like, did Cockatoo Island close like they said?
Right.
No.
Well, that's something that I wanted to figure out.
Yeah, and it says like even with their concerts, the island's open. Like, you might not be able to like go into the concert area, but like island's open. The only time they said that there might be is like, hey, there's a giant tsunami or something. Yeah. Obviously that makes sense. You don't want to put people in harm's way. But also like the New Year's Eve event, because obviously there's already a ton of people there trying to watch. It's New Year's Eve. Obviously, I don't know how it is down in Sydney. I've not seen a New Year's Eve down there, but in America, there's lots of people drinking. So I'm sure you don't want to just have them rambling around the island at that time, breaking stuff.
I'm pretty sure like all countries kind of celebrate it. I think America just takes it to more of an extreme than most other places.
Well, that's what I was saying, or just the party aspect of New Year's. Dude, fascinating timing that, we record a little bit later today, and then they're like, hey, just to let you know, didn't close down. And I'm like, I knew it. Chad, I know you're watching this. I know you've been watching since episode 1 of this. We really need you to come on now. We have some more questions about your documentary. I just want to know like what you meant by close down. Were they closed down like just Whisper Team? Like, because obviously we now know it's not the island. So just some questions, but we'll get back to Jeremy. Jeremy, I do apologize for our break in talking your content. Not that you're probably watching, but I apologize for any viewers that totally lost. Jeremy just comes on. All right, so remember when you did that review and you just broke away and just be like, I'm sorry, man, I'm so excited. Totally forgot I even like reached out to them. Like,
perfect. I even used just my Culz KMC instead of Culz Paranormal, just to try to make it not seem like we were asking about the, like, I just wanted an honest answer. Not, I didn't want them to think it was about Sir No Face or nothing like that, because I'm sure they get tons of those questions.
Maybe they don't.
I mean, considering the amount of like reviews on that one compared to the one we watched, it's possible it's not viewed as much. Though there's a lot less YouTube talking about. I only found one, and they weren't very nice either. So a lot of people not very high on this film. Sam, were you high on this film?
No, not really. I mean, I was interested in what they would find and like what they would explain it to be to see if like what would happen. But I mean, I wasn't like super mad about it. It's definitely still decent.
Now, how would you rate, and would you recommend this to the viewers?
I'll give it a 5 out of 10. And yeah, I would recommend it. It's a fascinating watch. I mean, you see how it explains that this is his first, because you see Jeremy just sitting and calling the person for a short period of time, opposed from like multiple times throughout the video for like just over an extended amount of time.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. It's kind of hard to rate. It wasn't bad compared to the last couple we watched. So it's definitely more than a 1. Probably rate this around like, it's going to be a weird rating, like a 3 to a 4.5. It's a window. I haven't done enough research to get my like true feelings. It didn't like upset me any, like outside of like being like, wait a minute, what about that zinc portion? And even then I wasn't upset. I was just like, there wasn't anything.
Honest video right now, and then when we do the ranking, you could put it higher than the others if you rank them higher once you've done more research. So
yeah, see, so this is just first impressions. Not a lot of research. It's definitely not terrible. It's not going to be for everyone, I can say that. But I mean, if you have interest in, the paranormal world and UFOs, it's definitely not the worst documentary we've watched in recent times. That's for sure.
True.
There's been 2, and it's probably better than that Butch Cassidy one, because man, that Butch Cassidy one's still one of the worst documentaries I watched. That was a hard watch. I remember like all of them weren't very good that we've watched so far. We got to find a good one. Off topic a little bit, but yeah, that's our review. I know we got derailed a little bit, sidetracked. Got some exciting update, guys. Pretty excited to share that first with you guys, because obviously this is going to come out before our deep dive, so at least now you guys have that information if you guys are watching all of them. It's definitely fascinating. This documentary, not terrible. Better than what I was expecting for sure, especially after A Hunt for the Skinwalker, because that was recent enough that I still kind of remember just how long it felt. Like I did look at the time quite a bit. So when I rewatch that one, I know it's going to be kind of a slog, but yeah, I mean, not the worst thing I've ever watched. Perhaps maybe we are kind of still fresh on the other films, and that's why.
I mean, I rewatched one of them just to kind of get them back in the mindset. Didn't have time for Hunt for the Skinwalker because
2 hours.
And yeah, it was 2 hours, and had other things I had to take care of today. But I'll probably watch that one tomorrow. So if I watch it tonight, I'll definitely fall asleep for it. And who knows? I may fall asleep tomorrow too. It's hard to say. Never know with Jim.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll rewatch it. We'll get back. We'll tell you guys our ranking. I'm gonna do some research, make sure there's none of his other films out currently before we rank him, because we don't want to rank him. Someone be like, "Hey, this one's out." I'm like, "Dang it!" Like, I really wanted to make sure we got like at least as good as we could have with what's available. But yeah, that was Patient 17. Short and sweet, definitely a little bit more concise than the other two we've watched. I don't know if it's my personal favorite, but we'll touch upon that here in a couple weeks or a week probably, because as far as we know, these are the only three, and we've watched the other ones already. So, but yeah, if you guys want to see more Culz reviews, we did go on a pretty long journey with Chad Kalick's films. Click the left link right now. There'll be some other stuff, so not just paranormal stuff. If you want to see some other reviews about other topics, including actors, history, dinosaurs, click over there. If you want to see more about what we're doing here at Culz Paranormal, including lots of great interviews, lots of interviews. This month has been packed. Click that link to your right. And don't forget to like and give us a
subscribe. Let us know in the comments below. If you passed out. I was just kidding. Don't do that. Let's not do that.
Did you fall asleep for Jeremy's films? Contact us 1-800-Culz. Don't call that. It's not a real phone number.
And let us know in the comments below if you think Keegan was giving Chad a hard time when he was hyping up Jeremy, and then he gives them these type of ratings.